preparing.
There we go. We're live on YouTube. All right, so I'll call the meeting to order on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. And I'll ask if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. I just have the one. I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Hendricks, I should have warned you. I just have the one. It's under correspondence, and it's, oh no, not under correspondence. It's item number 2 of the staff reports. It's the Strathroy Caradoc proposed condominium at 430 Head Street. And I'm declaring a conflict as I own property within that planning catchment area. So okay. You'll just take the lead on that one, and I'll just shut the camera off on my end, if that's okay. Yep. So if we can move into the minutes of the previous meeting, and that is May 4th, 2020, of a mover and seconder for approval. We have Deputy Mayor, or Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. And we'll move into correspondence. The first section is the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. So our next meeting is scheduled for June 1st, then June 15th, and then followed by July 6th. The first item for correspondence is item number 1, the Amiens Road Drain 2019 consideration meeting for Strathroy Caradoc. Item number 2 is also from Strathroy Caradoc, and it's a zoning bylaw amendment 05-2020. And that's a meeting scheduled for June 1st, and it's the notice for that public meeting for 540 Albert Street. Moving into the recommended readings, the first one there is from the Middlesex London Health Unit, and it's their Board of Health update for April. Item number 4 is from CN, and it's their notice of vegetation control program. And then item number 5 is from the County of Middlesex, and it's the on-service or under-service broadband areas for SWIFT. Moving into the action required, the first one there, item number 6, is from the Town of Grimsby, and it's a resolution regarding support for commercial rent assistance program. Any thoughts on this one? Yep, Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
I had written file on it.
I concur.
Okay. Looks like nobody's jumping up and down to support that one. Councillor Clark, you're on mute.
Sorry, the provincial and federal governments are already speaking to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving along, it's a resolution regarding a letter to the MP regarding the financial aid plan. Probably the same thoughts from council, or okay. Moving along to item number 7, it's the Protecting Vital Municipal Services and the letter that's attached to that. And then the last one there is a resolution for the Premier of Ontario, and it's the residential construction. I assume that we're going to be receiving and filing all those items. So we need a motion to receive and file correspondence CC1 to CC8. Deputy Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we'll jump into our staff reports, and our first one is from our planner, Aaron Besh, and that's the 2019 annual planning update. Aaron, welcome to our Zoom meetings.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. So this report was written obviously earlier this year, so things have changed a little bit, but I'll go through the summary of last year's planning applications. So I will note that there, again, for the 3rd year, we seem to have quite a high number of applications. We saw an increase in minor variances, consents, and site plan approvals. The consents to sever were not quite as high as 2017, where we first initiated the severances for surplus dwellings. However, it is still quite high. So for minor variances, we've seen an increase in not only the number of applications we're receiving, but also the types of applications we're receiving compared to the previous year. A lot of the applications in 2018 were related to size and or height of accessory structures. However, we saw a more wide range of applications in 2019 for agricultural, residential and commercial development, which is nice to see. For the second year in a row, again, zoning bylaw amendments were relatively high, and with approximately 60% of these applications related, again, to surplus farmland consents and initiating the conditions of consent for those. Subdivision, we didn't have any new subdivision starts last year. Grogast has finished off. It's been largely developed with 6 building permits having been issued for the 6 lots that were permitted. Council may recall that the developer was given permission to create more lots if groundwater monitoring results came back look good. There are no outstanding appeals before the local planning appeal tribunal. Again, this is from 2019. And then in addition to core planning services, planning staff assisted municipal staff through inquiries, administrative support for planning, development, and building related matters. We also initiated the interim control bylaw and the special area review, special policy area review in 2019, which did wrap up earlier this year. However, as you know, we are initiating a new phase of that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hey, is there any questions at all for Aaron? Councillor Clark?
Yes, Aaron, I just wondered if you could speak to, with respect to the special policy area, how you're coming along with the employment land study.
Through Mayor Smith to Councillor Clark, we're still trying to get through the whole COVID situation and get things back on track. I believe we are not at the stage of actually starting the review. We're still in the initiation of determining who is going to complete the study and what that's going to look like for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions at all for Aaron? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to, where is it here? Resolve that council receive the Adelaide Metcalfe 2019 planning summary report as presented by planner Aaron Besh. Mover and seconder. Councillor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Aaron. I'm going to turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Hendricks to take on your second report. Deputy Mayor Hendricks, you are still muted. There you go.
There we go. Okay, so we're the preliminary information for Head Street. I'll let you go ahead, Aaron.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't have too much additional information to give you aside from what was provided in my original report from March 16th. The application condominium is proposing 20 vacant land residential condominium units. In my memo, I have a location map. The property is located on Head Street, just north of Panel Lane, and it does abut some properties that are actually within the Adelaide Metcalfe Township on Cedar Crescent. So it is my understanding that there's been some interest from those landowners into what's going on or what is being proposed. The property itself is quite long and a bit of an unusual shape. We did get an update today that they are hosting a virtual community meeting tomorrow from 4 to 5, I believe, and another one next Monday from 7 to 8. And that's in lieu of a public meeting in which you can actually physically attend. So there will be a Q&A session. There will be a presentation from the landowners and their planning staff. As for the proposal itself, in addition to the condominium plan, they've also requested a zoning bylaw amendment application, which will change the zoning they're looking from R1, which is low density residential, to R2, which will allow, they also have 3 development standard requests: minimum rear yard setback from 8 meters to 5 meters, which may have an impact on the residents of Cedar Crescent. As well, a minimum lot area of from 350 meters squared to 300 meters squared, and a maximum lot coverage from 40% to 45%. It looks like they do comply with the remainder of the provisions in the R2 zone. However, along with the notice that they sent out today, it does look like they've changed it from 20 units down to 19, as they will be using one of the properties in the center for a stormwater management pond. So hopefully we'll learn a little bit tomorrow, a little bit more information. I do plan on attending, and I would certainly be happy to answer any questions that council may have this evening.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I do.
Thank you.
I do,
Oh,
Marianne.
yes, Sue.
Sorry. To Aaron, how would a person access the session tomorrow? Or even the one the following week? Is it, if we go to Strathroy Caradoc, is there their whole, like their landing page, is there a link on there? Because it's not municipality, it's in their municipality, correct?
Correct. So what I can do is forward the information notice that I got around to council members for your information. I'm not sure if it's available on the website or not. This was circulated to all the residents within a certain distance of the proposal, as well as Adelaide Metcalfe.
Okay. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind just flipping us the link and we can have a quick look at that, just so we're aware, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions for Aaron?
No.
Thank you, Aaron. I guess we're on to.
Actually, I do. Sorry, Mayor. Sorry, Deputy Mayor. Aaron, with respect to anything to do with planning applications and all of that, there was some discussion at one point of having it by virtual. Is that still under consideration, or are we just waiting for the lift to come off and just go back to council and do it business as usual?
Councillor Clark, I am waiting for direction from the township. There have been other municipalities who have initiated the virtual public meeting process. We do it with caution. It does open us up for appeals and that sort of thing if people feel that they're not able to attend in a way that feels meaningful to them, and they're able to contribute their comments and that sort of thing. So there certainly is the ability to move forward with planning applications if the township so chooses. I've just been taking my direction from the clerk and the previous CAO.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now we're on to item 3, the office rental. So we could bring the mayor back. There we go.
Excellent. Before we move on, Deputy Mayor Hendricks, I know that you don't have the motion sheet in front of you. So there was a
Oh,
motion
that's correct.
for
To
that one.
accept Aaron's report.
Yes, to receive
So
that.
moved.
Okay. Councillor McKinnon and seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor
Now-
Hendricks. Okay, is there anything else on the agenda for Aaron at all for planning applications at all? Jennifer or Aaron? So, Aaron, if you'd like to stick around, you're more than welcome to, or you can leave the meeting, but you can always go check it out live on YouTube. So it's up to you. No hard feelings if you leave.
I'll back out and but I'll be keeping watch.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, we'll move into the next report, which is from our clerk and acting treasurer, Jennifer. And this first one is the Streets Associates office renovations and the Kerwood Park update.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. So this is an update just for council so that council is aware of where we are at with the update to the office renovations and the proposal for the building at Kerwood Ballpark. There's no direction needed. It's just simply FYI.
Okay, is there any questions at all from members of council? Seeing none, I'll just make a quick comment on this with regards just to the office renovations. I think looking at what was presented until we see if there's any updates to kind of the flow of the recommendation, I would like to see another look at it to kind of rejig the lower level of the municipal office. And the reason for that is because I feel that the waiting room area is very, it seems to be misplaced. It's a waiting room area that's really located in the center of the building for if anybody takes the elevator down to the lower level. And it doesn't really make sense for the exterior of the building to then come into the council chamber and then walk through to a waiting room. It seems very odd. So I like to just have council have a second look at that if we can before we move into the tendering process.
Mhm.
Yeah, Councillor McKinnon.
There's also that, through you, Mayor Curtis, to Jennifer, there's an email on May the 13th from Streets Associates in regards to the rear stairwell that was added by request, and it stated it wasn't required by code, and they wanted confirmation was it to be left on the drawings as it would have a significant cost increase to the project. Have we responded to them in regards to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But they're not ready for tendering yet. So until they were out May 7th to do final measurements. So once they do final measurements, then they will you'll see another proposal come back to council for council to review. And then council can make that call with the stairwell.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, we've got they're hoping to tender for September for the Kerwood Park. And I was wondering if we weren't hoping to maybe get work started in September. Is it possible to move up that tendering by a month or so?
Through you, Mayor Curtis, at this point in time, that's the update that Spreets gave me, and it's due to COVID, and it put a restraint on what restrictions their employees could do. So we're bound right now because of that. So September is the earliest they can get the tender out, but that too also needs to be revisited by council for review and make sure that that's the building that council wants to see at that park. Spreets has to review the building code for the washrooms and make sure that there's the proper amount of washrooms. The original sketch, if council recalls, I believe there was 3 men, 3 women, and then 1 universal. And council requested that there be 1 of each. And that's one thing that Spreets has to go back and check, that because of the direction from council to change that, they have to make sure through the building code that that's enough washrooms.
What it sounds like is council will have a second look at it, a final look before anything goes forward.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. There's no other questions. We need a motion to resolve that council receive the Spreets Associates update office renovation in Kerwood Ballpark staff report as presented by the clerk acting treasurer. Mover and seconder. Councilor Brody and seconded by Councilor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there a delay on my end? It seems like maybe there is, maybe
Yeah,
there's.
your voice and your mouth aren't put
Just a little
together.
I understand. Okay, I'll talk slower so I don't keep going without knowing what you're able to see. Okay. The next report, which is the deferral of penalty and interest update for May 2020. Jennifer.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. So this is just an update to a report that was presented to council at the April 6th council meeting. And basically all this is asking is that we incorporate June for penalty deferral and interest, because that was not included in the original request for the April 6th council meeting.
Any discussion on this?
No.
Councillor Clark.
To Jennifer, do you have any indication right now? Have you had phone calls of people saying, you know, can you waive my interest? I'm not going to be able to pay, like, because we're in more of a rural community, so I didn't know how prevalent that was.
Yep, through Mayor Smith to Councillor Clark. I haven't had any requests or any inquiries here. However, I know Mayor Smith had an inquiry as to what we were doing for COVID-19. So because our original report was only for April and May, and because the emergency order is being at least extended to June 2nd, and the restrictions are being put in place till May 29th, May 29th being our due date for the second interim payment for taxes, I thought it might be best if we include June as well. There are other municipalities that are including June, and it's simply just for the penalty and interest deferral.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other questions at all? So we have the recommendation there, and that's to extend that to June 2020. Mover and seconder. We have Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's carried.
So the next staff report I have is just an update regarding surveying at 3 municipal properties. One is the School Road Landfill, one is the Napier Public Works Yard, and the third one is the Mount Zion Cemetery on Napperton Drive, which is also known as Fourth Line Cemetery. And it's just to confirm that I've been in contact with AGM and they're moving forward with those 3 surveying projects.
Okay. Do you have a mover and seconder to receive that report? Councillor Clark and Councillor Brody. Is there any questions at all on this one? All those in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. My next report is regarding the fire rescue van, the RFP tender results. And Fire Chief Nordoff and myself went through these on last Tuesday, and we had 2 tenders received. And you'll see attached to this report the recommendation from the fire chief to go with Lafleur Industries, which is in Quebec. And it's for the total with HST of $394,223.10.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Chief Nordoff, do you have anything you'd like to add at all to this report?
No, not really. I'm surprised we only got 2 out of the 5, but it is what it is. So we have to go with what we got. And like my recommendation is Lafleur, mainly because of the cost. And the other thing with them it met the safety standards better than the one from Dependable.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there any questions at all for members of council? Yep, Councillor Clark.
This question is to Jennifer, just a simple accounting question. Is that HST recoverable? Because we're a municipality, or we pay and we never get back? It's
No,
recoverable?
through Mayor Smith to
Yeah.
Councillor Clark. It is recoverable. It's about 84% that's recoverable. 84,
thank
maybe
you.
I'm delaying now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's good. Thanks.
Sorry.
Okay, Councillor McKinnon, you had a question?
That was my question that Jennifer answered through Councillor Clark. So thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions at all? Seeing none, we have two motions for this report. The first one is to receive the report. Okay, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody, all those in favor? And that's carried. And then the second one is to approve the tender for the fire rescue van submitted by LaFleur Industries in the amount of $348,870 plus HST, totaling $394,223.10 as recommended by the fire chief. Okay, that's Councillor McKinnon and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. My next report is regarding School Road Landfill. So it's basically just to give council an update about improvements that we're looking to implement starting the next landfill date, which is Wednesday, May 27th. We've had the landfill open twice now since reopening from COVID, and we've had a total of 33 vehicles between those two dates. The next one is Wednesday, May 27th from noon to 4, and then Saturday, May 30th from 8 to 4. And Public Works Manager Coulter Cahill, he's been working with a contractor for a building for staff. And administration staff has been working to implement a device that's called the Square. And the Square will act as a portable debit. And we have a township cell phone here that we can hotspot from our iPad with the Square to the township cell phone so that we can use the data off of it to use the Square, so that the preferred method would be debit.
Excellent. Is there any questions at all? And we also have Public Works Manager Coulter also on this call as well. Yep, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, so you've mentioned the Square, and I think that's a great idea. Will they also be issuing receipts there, or they'll just be taking names and amounts down, and then the office will follow up with that the following week?
So through Mayor Smith to Councillor Clark, they will not have the capabilities of producing a receipt. So it is hoped that when they take a transaction, that they will write down the information as to who the person is, and the staff can offer or send out a receipt based on the amounts that we see. The one thing with the Square is that once that transaction has gone through, it's already in our bank. So it's not a matter of having to do a deposit to put the money in the bank. It already goes directly to it.
And maybe I could suggest that you would do it asking if they want a receipt. If they don't want a receipt, then I don't know that we have to do one, but they should still be recording who the people are, and there should be some record of some kind, I think, anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor McKinnon.
Through you, Mayor Curtis, to Coulter, the building that you're looking at, would that be like a small trailer that would have washroom facilities in it as well?
Through Mayor Smith to Councillor McKinnon, we do have a washroom out there right now. It's a portable washroom.
Okay.
The new building will be some sort of a garden shed or a trailer I am taking over from our previous CEO on taking the reins on getting a building out there. So I haven't decided on which route to go, whether it is a garden shed or a sort of small construction site trailer, but those are the two options.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Brody.
Through Mayor Curtis, yeah, to have a washroom facility out there, I don't think it'd be feasible for, one time. We'll have to stick with a porta-john idea, I would imagine. You basically just want to need something to keep, especially in the winter, keeps the employees out of the cold, and have something for the iPad is basically all most of us are thinking, I do believe. Is that kind of everybody's thoughts there?
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions at all for members of council? Okay, Councillor Clark.
So is the thought going forward that you'd have 2 people at the landfill or 1?
Yeah,
I guess
so
that would be
through,
Coulter.
Yes, in response to Councillor Clark, there will be from here on out 2 people at the landfill. Just with COVID-19, we're only allowing 3 vehicles in at a time, so it is definitely handy having someone at the road and someone at the back, sorting everything out.
Good, okay, thanks.
Excellent. If there's no more questions, we have a motion to receive the School Road Landfill Update Staff Report. Okay, Councillor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's key.
okay. My next report is the accounts payable approval from April 30th to May 14th in the amount of $85,314.78.
Okay, is there any questions on the accounts at all? Okay, seeing none, we do a mover and seconder to resolve that council receive the invoice payment approval report as presented by the clerk acting treasurer, and the council approve the account listing for the period of April 30th, 2020 to May 14th, 2020 in the amount of $85,314.78. Okay, Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? And that's carried. Excellent. Councillor Clark, we can only see the top half of your head.
I
There you
know,
go.
I'm sitting actually on a couch because I can't get at my dining room table, sorry. My back hurts.
No, that's okay.
Okay, I'll try to
Just
be,
don't fall
I'll
asleep
try
on
to
us.
sit up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Jennifer, your last report, the biggest one I think of the night, the budget update.
Yes, so my last report is the 2020 budget, and anything in yellow is what was changed from the last budget meeting, which was April 20th. So if council has any questions, please feel free to ask. There is one thing that is not noted in here, and it was brought to my attention by Mayor Smith. Back at the March 10th budget meeting, it was asked of staff to bring forward what it would look like if we did a 0% tax rate increase, and the amount to the funds that we would need to raise. So we can go up to $283,725.59 without it affecting the tax rate for the municipality. What I've done is I've based it off of last year's levy, and I'm just depends on which way council wants to go.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Yeah.
Sorry, bearing in mind that the new 4-year phase-in for the assessment from MPAC will begin January next year.
2021.
Okay, is there any questions at all? Councillor Brody.
So the notes with the budget on with the yellow, I don't seem to have that. I'm on my computer, so I'm on the township site. Was that just sent to our iPads?
No, it should be on your e-agenda app. It would be
Oh, here we go. I'm finding
the
it now.
second attachment. The reserves is the first page, and then all the budget sheets are after it.
I was just looking at the overview page. So.
Oh, okay. Yep, the summary. One thing you will see in there is the capital purchase for the fire department has been increased to 375,000 only because of what the RFP came in at. If council recalls back at the March 10th budget meeting, council approved 375,000 to be put in the budget, but after discussions at the April 20th council meeting, it was thought that we might be able to get away with 300,000. So when the tenders came in, we bumped that back up to 375,000, which ends up being a wash because it's all coming out of the fire reserves.
Okay, is there any questions at all for Jennifer? So right now, as it stands, if we were to approve it today, it would be an increase of the $221,162.33. And that would be a decrease to the tax rate, but it would obviously be an increase to the overall budget. And Jennifer, that 221,000 includes the $40,000 going into the reserve still for the fire department.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Brody.
Okay, so I'm just having a little trouble on my screen trying to find the right pages, but so right now we're sitting with an increase of like a 3 or 4%. Is that correct?
Currently, you're sitting at a 5.658% increase over last year's budget, but you're less than 0% on the tax rate itself.
Because of the impact going up, Mike.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, we don't have control over the assessments going up or down. The requests for reconsiderations have been extended for 2020 tax year, so because of COVID. So if somebody did want to dispute their assessment, they can still do that.
So if we wanted to have the same tax rate as last year, we could technically increase our budget by $62,000 and we'd have the same tax rate. So if somebody's assessment did not increase, their taxes will be the same. If their assessment increases, then they'd be paying more.
Mm-hmm.
My thought, or go ahead, Councillor Brody.
So with that, we have money going into the fire reserve. We haven't cut our roads or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And we would be at a 0 on our end.
Correct. On the tax rate, yep.
So my suggestion is, considering we know that the 4-year phase in for the impact assessment has been pushed back a year, so we won't have that assessment growth as we've seen it in the past, looking at it next year. And we also are looking at the development of our, like, merging the two works garages and having that construction next year as well. My recommendation would be to add the look at the number, the $62,500 to our budget to go into reserves. So then we have that those funds there for next year that we can pull from instead of increasing the tax rate next year. Because if we were to leave it as is, the tax rate would be decreasing, and then next year it'll probably have to be increased. That's my suggestion. Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, I could live with that at the most, I guess. I'd sooner have a zero increase. I know there's a lot of debate about the proportion of who's paying the taxes, but I don't think that's a really huge issue. Over that 62,000 spread over the township is not really severe. And if it saves a big jump next year, I think that's a good thing. We do want to also expand the sidewalk construction to next year. So I think putting reserves in and holding at a zero increase is not a bad thing, especially some of the municipalities around us have actually put in increases. So I'm okay with that.
Your thoughts? Councillor McKinnon?
Excuse me. I have no problem with what we're proposing with the 221 plus the 62 going into reserves, to just keep it flat rather than have an increase and a decrease. So we've got a flat rate. So I can live with that.
Councillor Clark, do you have any comments on this?
Nothing further to add other than I would go with the 0% increase and move the extra if there is any surplus, because oftentimes we have surprised items during the year that could eat that 60 up. If we don't, we would move that to reserves after the fact, because we don't know what's going to be ahead for the rest of this year. We don't know if everybody's going to pay their taxes on time. Like there's a few unknowns out there, as well as with the provincial government. So I'd say leave it with the 0% for now.
Okay. Councillor Brody?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I was looking at a couple items here, which I'm not going to bring up really now because I just thought maybe they were putting enough into them. They could have been decreased, but if we're going to be at a zero and those costs come in a little lower, that'll go back into our pocket anyways. So I'm happy that we have a 0% increase. And as for property values increasing, we all know that they are. So that's a hard thing to argue and we can't control. So I'm happy with a 0 and keep our reserves as strong as they are, because they are very strong. And I would be in full support of that.
Okay, so it sounds like, Jennifer, do you want a motion for that additional $62,500 to go into one of the reserves then?
Yes, please.
Is your recommendation the working capital or the?
Yeah, I would say working capital.
Okay, do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Brody and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried. And then the next motion would be resolved that council approve the 2020 budget as presented by the clerk acting treasurer with a 0% increase to the tax rate, which is equivalent to $283,725.59 over the 2019 budget. Okay, Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. And then Jennifer, we'll have the bylaw at the next meeting for the approval of the budget then?
Yeah, because I'll need the numbers from the county, because that will reflect in our bylaw. So if it's not the next one, hopefully it'll be the one after that.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, is there any other questions at all for the budget, even though we just obviously approved it there? I guess the only motion that I forgot there was resolved that council received the 2020 budget update as presented by the clerk acting treasurer. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so that's everything for staff report. Is there anything else for other business from members of council? Okay, seeing none, I'll just note, hopefully everybody has received or will be receiving the wheelie bins from the Blue Water Recycling. Has anybody received them yet? Perfect. So just a reminder, if you're talking to any residents in the township, remind them that those bins won't be used until the beginning of June, and that it's on the bi-weekly pickup. So the south side is I believe it's June 2nd.
Yes.
And then on the north part of the township, it's June 9th, and that we're switching from a Wednesday to a Tuesday. And I've received some feedback from some residents that they are concerned that we're going from the weekly pickup to a bi-weekly pickup. So I think that's something that we're going to have to monitor and see, kind of do a check-in after a period of time once the new system goes in place to see if the bi-weekly pickup does work for the township, or if we need to reevaluate that and go back to a weekly pickup. But obviously with any sort of change, it's hard to change with whatever it is, going from a weekly pickup that we are used to bi-weekly. So we'll see. There's going to be that transition time. Yep, Councillor Clark.
But just to clarify, like in the village, what areas are getting weekly pickup? Like, is the Healy subdivision getting weekly, or like, is there some? Did I miss the boat? Like, is there some mapping that's gone out and I didn't get it? Or yeah, okay.
Yeah, Jennifer, do you want to cover that one?
Yes. So through Mayor Smith, so Kerwood would be weekly, and like the village of Kerwood, and the infringement to Strathroy. So you have Healy, Pike, going into from Napperton to 2nd, and then Buttery Creek. Who else am I missing?
Panel Lane, Crescent, Evergreen,
yes.
Charles, East
County
Minnetonka.
Lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to clarify, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
map
the
came
first
out.
pickup, sorry, the first pickup then will be the first Tuesday in June on the south side, and then the second Tuesday of June, the north side, and everybody else that you've just mentioned will be weekly in the concentrated areas. Okay, always on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there anything else for other business at all? Seeing none, we'll move into our bylaws, and we have a few of them here. We need a motion to resolve that all 3 readings be given to bylaw number 23 of 2020, the service agreement with the County of Middlesex. Bylaw number 24 of 2020, the interim control bylaw extension special policy area. Bylaw number 25 of 2020, the Morgan Drain Branch C 2017. Bylaw number 26 of 2020, the McKean Drain 2017. And bylaw number 27 of 2020, confirm council proceedings, and that the bylaws be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal be attached. Mover and seconder. Okay, Councillor Brody and Councillor Clark. Is there any discussion on any of those? All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and if there's nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn at 7:50. Is that an adjournment, Councillor McKinnon?
Just a comment through you to Jennifer. Nice to see the bylaws for the drainage, and the way you've set them out is really well done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Through Mayor Smith, I can't take all the credit because I do have a team here. So I had
Well,
help
your team did well.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Councilor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Good night.